Greetings, my friend. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hello and welcome to episode 256 of the AFTN podcast. I am Kevin Nolan, fan club vice president Joe Deasy. Beside me is AFTN writer and a man who has tactical fouling on his resume, Nicholas Ruprecht.
Hello.
And calling in from Surrey, he told me that the goal that Ronaldo scored against Juventus was just another day in the park for him. It's Gideon Hill.
Hey guys.
So, gentlemen, if you could invite a member of the Caps on a romantic candlelit dinner, perhaps downtown, perhaps not downtown, who would it be? Nicholas.
I would invite Kai Kamara so I could say, sorry, baby, for slagging you in the preseason.
Will there be flowers?
There will be flowers and chocolate, and I'll be like, I'm sorry.
And Gideon?
I'd say Alphonso Davies because he seems to never get rewarded by MLS for his hard work. So
Okay.
pat him on the shoulder and buy him a nice dinner.
But you won't be able to bring him to a bar that serves alcohol.
That is true, though. That is true.
Yeah, you have to take those things into account. I would take Ali Ghazal to ask him how he looks so wise, even though he's quite young. Or I would go with Juarez, because a problem I often have is that I don't, if my order gets messed up, I don't, tell the server that it was wrong. But Juarez would be right in there. He would have the server's ear, he'd talk to the chef. That's just the impression I get from him. Yeah, okay. So we're going to look back on the Caps' last game, the 2-1 win against Columbus, just in a very speedy fashion like we always do. I have 3 sentences that I prepared and I sent to the guys earlier, and they're going to tell me, or they're going to complete these sentences for me so we can kind of get a feel for how we felt about the last game. So, sentence number 1, and I'll go to Gideon first. The VAR decision on Davies' goal was blank. What did you put? Weak? Oh, okay. Nick, the VAR decision on Davies' goal was...
Iffy, but correct.
Okay, iffy but correct. I said the VAR decision on Davies' goal was acceptable. So I think we're all on the same page about that. If it was against the Caps, I would have been a bit more angry, I think. Sentence number 2. The Caps are successful on the road because blank. Nicholas?
It is their style.
Okay, it's their style.
That's
Gideon?
what they do.
Because of tactics.
Oh, very broad strokes. I said the Caps are successful on the road because they follow instructions. Which is more than you can say for a lot of teams. Okay, sentence number 3. Breck Shea is blank. Nick?
He is a road player.
Okay.
He's a road player.
Yeah. Gideon?
Breck Shea is a clinical finisher with a questionable man bun because he's not a big fan of man buns.
Is there such thing as a not questionable man bun? I actually have 2 answers. I said Breck Shea is, number 1, more technical than people give him credit for.
Yeah, that was a good call.
Okay.
Yeah. And number 2 is the anti-Christian Teixeira.
It's like the reverse.
Because Teixeira is the road or the home player, and Breck Shea is the away. It's a theme we keep coming back to. Okay, so that's our really, really quick review of the 2-1 win against Columbus. But here at AFTN Studios, aka Joe's house, we look ahead to the future. We're all about Real Salt Lake away, which is the most dull fixture you could, like, the one that you just skip over when you see on the fixture list. I can't think of many more. Houston in the middle of summer.
No. Yeah, well, it's MLS, so you never know what you're going to get, right?
It's a mixed bag. Okay, it's this Saturday, is it? Or I don't even know when the game is. Yeah, okay. Yeah. We're away at RSL. Historically, kind of a tricky place, but some good results there in the past.
We've had good results there in the past, that's for sure.
There was that 2-2 a few years ago where Mosqueda scored that goal from forever ago.
The bicycle nutmeg.
That was Dallas.
Or that was Dallas, yeah.
Similar. Gideon, what are your initial thoughts when you think about this game?
Well, I know Salt Lake's probably one of the trickiest places weather-wise to play in all of MLS. Last year we had the snow game. They had some heat, the altitude, rainstorms in the past. So I think we're always unsure of when the game's actually going to be played there. And, like we mentioned just a couple seconds ago, we've had mixed results, and the Whitecaps don't really play that bad in RSL. But again, it just depends on the weather and who's playing out there. But right now, they're playing confident. I think they have a chance in winning this game.
Nick, your general vibe going into the game? Positive, right? After the game last week?
Yeah, I think their road form from this year is continuing where it left off last year. And I don't see any reason why it won't continue.
Okay. Well, a look at the enemy for now. RSL have played 4 games this season. They're 1-2-1, so it's 1 win, 2 defeats, 1 draw to start the season. The win was against the Red Bulls, who were very clearly focusing on the Champions League at that point. Mm-hmm. The 2 defeats we kind of flagged up as cause for concern. So there was a 5-1 loss to LAFC, and their most recent game was a 3-1 loss to TFC in Toronto. Your thoughts on the game last week in particular, Gideon?
I think, like we talked about just before it went on, is that they've had a tough schedule to start the season. LAFC, we didn't really think, we weren't sure what they're going to be like, and they're having a great season so far. TFC, again, they're fantastic this year. And the game against the Red Bulls, you're right, Nick, Joe, that they played a weaker team as they were focusing on the Champions League. But, last week's result against Toronto FC, Friday game, tough for them. The one takeaway I had between the 2 games between LAFC and Toronto is that they actually scored a goal. So I think that's one thing that could take away. 5-1 looks a lot better than 5-0.
Nick, they gave away 2 penalties last week. What did you make of their defensive play in general?
Well, it looked pretty terrible. Tons of individual errors all over the place. They don't look like their back line doesn't look like they're on the same page at all. Yeah, and it looks really bad in that sense. Yes, you're talking about TFC, which attacking juggernaut, and LAFC, which seems to be an attacking juggernaut as well. So, how that will play into the Caps, attacking prowess on the road, it remains to be seen, right? If they can stamp out those individual errors, I think that they'll do a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Their backline, that was the thing that I noticed the game against TFC as well. Just the shape was so warped. Yeah, like they weren't not in the sense that they were tracking runners or anything like that. That won't really be music to the Whitecaps' ears. We don't get players in the box to bend the backline out of shape. Maybe Davies a little bit, but just looking at their backline, the only name to be honest, that I fully recognize is Justin Glad, their homegrown player, who I have a lot of admiration for. But Ramondo's been there for a while. It just doesn't strike me as a defensive unit, Gideon, that you're intimidated to come up against. Kamara must be licking his lips at the thought of coming up against that line.
Yeah, and the one thing that RSL's never had, honestly, is that, a pasty backline. That's some of the Whitecaps are going to pinpoint and say, hey, we need to break this down. But, again, you mentioned, they have David Horst, Tony Beltran, who's been around for years with that team. And it tells you something that they like to play together and not leave RSL. But, again, they aren't really getting results having the same defensive unit. And I think the Whitecaps are going to be able to take advantage of that this Saturday.
The homegrown thing is admirable, though, right, Nick?
Yeah, the homegrown thing is admirable. They had... like you said, Glad. They have Brooks, Lennon, Acosta, I think, as well. And I think he scored a goal in the last game. Braid.
Yeah, Braid. Yeah.
And that is great. I think it's always good to see talent being developed. But I think, again, that might be one of the reasons why their backline is so out of shape, is they have a lot of young players who are still learning, right? And you're going to make mistakes when you're learning.
Joao Plata is still there.
Yeah.
He's leading their goal scoring with 2 goals. A useful player, but like this team is not, filling the net with balls. That sounds weird, but they're not really lighting up the goals this year, are they? If Joao Plata is still their main guy, it just says to me that they're not really moving forward very much.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think it's a team in transition, trying to figure out what can we do with the veterans that we have and the young players that are coming in. And I thought that maybe towards the end of last year, they had figured out an identity because they went on a nice run. But whatever momentum and form they had, they've seemed to have evaporated over the summer.
They did have a really good run last year, actually. I remember they were in conversation for getting one of those last playoff spots after having a change of manager last season.
Yeah.
They brought in a DP. It's Albert Rusnak, 23-year-old Slovakian. He played in Holland before, and he's a young attacking midfielder. Not quite of the everyone signing South American style of doing things. He was on loan at Oldham Athletic and Birmingham City, so he knows how to get kicked very well. Do you see this guy as the savior of RSL's attacking ideas?
I think he's a piece but I think when you look at the overall team, like we were saying, like you were saying, the attacking people that they have don't inspire fear. Rusnak is good and he can pick a pass from what I've seen in the games that I've watched of him play, but I don't think that he himself is going to be able to put this team on his back and bring them to another level.
Gideon, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think we touched on this briefly last week with Columbus, and how they don't really have a guy that's going to fill the net and get all those goals, like 23 in a year or whatever. I think this is a Rusnak as part of this dynamic of RSL's offense. You have 4 players that can really scare you and do it to you on the counterattack, and that's why I think they're more of a dangerous team this year offensively wise. And Rusnak's, he's the leading guy for sure, but there's so many other players in this team that can finish you off and get some goals as well.
What are your thoughts on Mike Petka, Gideon?
Well, he's always angry looking, and I think it was kind of surprising that he left, New York in the way he did. But Jesse Marsh just filled in very well in New York with the Red Bulls there. But I think it was a good time for him to come in last year and replace Jeff Cassar, who really kind of didn't right the ship. And Petke came in, he kind of forced his hand. Didn't make any signings except for Marcelo Silva last year, and really had the players what he had, as you mentioned, got on that run last year, and they almost made the playoffs.
Nick, anything apart from the freaking printer you want to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, he is entertaining, that's for sure. His press conferences. Last press conference, it was 15 seconds. I know what the problem is, and storming out, right?
Well, hopefully he doesn't find the problem and fix it before the Whitecaps game, or else
exactly.
It'll be a little bit more, not excited next week.
Yeah.
Where do you see them finishing this year? The RSL, in the playoffs, just snipping in, or outside looking in?
I had them at the beginning of the year, I think, getting just inside the playoffs.
Okay.
And I think it's still early enough in the season that if they can turn around their defensive ship and they can fix the problem, then they should be fine. And I think they have enough talent and veteran presence to be able to get into the playoffs.
Gideon, in or out of the playoffs for RSL?
I don't know what I had with AFTN's preview, but I think they're going to be top 6 in the West and be in the playoffs.
Oh, wow, really? Well, what makes you think that?
I don't know. I just feel like the way they've built their attacking this year, or attacking style, is going to make them kind of go for it. Again, I don't know where I put them with AFTN, but the way they're doing right now, I think they'll kind of push in there late on the season because they have some young guys that can be in there. They're a very team with lots of depth, so I think that'll play into the hands of them finishing where I have them this year.
Okay, I definitely had them out of the playoff picture. I just don't think, not even from a depth point of view, I don't think their starting 11 is better than 6 other teams in the West. That being said, where are their threats? They're big. What are you worried about? It's not set pieces. They're not really that kind of a team.
No.
I'm scared of João Plata. I'll say it. Every time I see him, I'm like, he's going to run so fast and just put something in the back of the net.
I mean, I would say, and I know this isn't a threat, Raimondo.
Okay.
But because he is an experienced goalkeeper, he saved a penalty in one of those last couple games.
Yeah, the TFC game. He's Javinko's penalty.
Yeah, and he can win you a game that you shouldn't have won.
Mm-hmm. And we know the Caps are capable of having a game like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Gideon, biggest threat for RSL?
I think, as the question is threats for me, and as I talked about a bit earlier, they have Savarino, Plata, Lennon, Artunio, the new signing this year, and Jordan Allen as well as their homegrown player that can step in. So I think their threat is definitely their attacking front four, which they usually play.
I might be naive in thinking this, but those names you just said, and then I just think of Waston and Aha and De Jong and Nerwinski, and I feel pretty comfortable about that prospect.
I do too, but there's more than just one player of them, and that's what scares me a little bit.
That's true.
This could be classic Whitecaps.
It could be,
where
absolutely.
It's like, this is a game that they could totally win, and they're just going to kind of waltz in there and maybe not get it done.
Well,
right?
If you compare it to Columbus are a lot better of a team, but that does not mean that the Caps will do better than against RSL, right? Just one quick thing to finish up this section is, we know those famous RSL teams that were, bothering the MLS Cup game of old. Where does this team compare? I don't think there's any argument that it's not up there.
Not good.
Yeah.
Not good right now.
But how far off do you think they are?
I think I think they can, they're like a lower, like I said, I think they can squeak into the playoffs.
Okay.
For sure. They're definitely not going to be challenging for the MLS Cup.
And still aging too, right? We have, Beckerman's still there. Yeah. Raimondo's not getting any younger. Yeah. Gideon, where do you think they are stature-wise?
Yeah, I think they haven't really gotten better defensively since those days of Olave and Borchers, manning the back line, Rio Tinto, but they've become more of a younger team. We talked about 10 homegrown signings as well on their roster, and they used to have Alvaro Sabrio, Espindola, as you remember, and now they have Plata, Savarino, all those guys, and I think they're more of a faster team. They'll get you on the counterattack more than playing 1-2s and trying to build up as they used to do and find success in that.
Well, that was our brief preview for the RSL side of things. We'll take a look at the other camp pretty soon, but next it's time for my favorite part of the show. It is, Do You Know Who I Am? Okay, gentlemen, do you know who I am? The season standings are 3-2 to Gideon?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay, cool. Last week it was Daigo Kobayashi. It was one of the more entertaining rounds we've had because it took a while to get there. This week we have another good one. I say that every week because I just
don't know what to say.
Yeah, and I just go on Wikipedia and look for MLS players, which is great. Okay, I'll start this one off. I was born on April 21st, 1983, in Europe. So 1983 in Europe. I made one appearance for AC Milan. That's number 2. Remember to say stop if you want to have a go. One appearance for AC Milan. Okay. I am a midfielder. That's clue number 3. I'm a midfielder. Gideon, you're still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, stop.
Yes?
Magnus Wolf Ekram?
No. He played for Cardiff, didn't he, that guy?
Yeah, I'm just thinking around the Europe thing.
Yeah. Okay. I'm clue number 4, which is usually the benchmark of where I'm happy that we got this far. I made almost 200 appearances for Fiorentina.
Stop.
Yep.
Safir Tater?
No.
Oh, he's from Algeria. Shoot.
Okay. Clue number 5. I play in the Eastern Conference. That's present tense. Okay. I've lost track of the clues. 5, I think. I play for the Montreal Impact.
Stop.
Yep.
Mateo Mancosu?
No. Okay, next clue. I have long, wavy hair. That's an extra one I had to add in.
Oh my goodness.
Alright, that's all my clues, but I'll recap them, okay? I was born in 1983 in Europe. My first team was Milan. I am a defensive midfielder. I have almost 200 appearances for Fiorentina. I play in the Eastern Conference. I play for the Montreal Impact. I have wavy long hair. I am Marco Donadel.
Oh, I couldn't get the name. Oh, man.
That's the first one I have won, I think, this season. So well done, everyone, for not getting that one. And that was this week's Do You Know Who I Am?
Hi, I'm Alfonso Davies, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Okay, so I don't know what that means for the season standings. What do you guys think?
I think you're on the board now.
2-1 maybe?
3-2-1, okay. I'm just going to make them really hard from now on in that case, so that I can score every week. I thought that one would have gotten it. Someone would have gotten it.
He just slipped my mind.
I think I'm framing the questions better, so they're getting a little bit harder.
He has scored some fantastic goals.
And he's also, as I've said before on the show, my most hated MLS player that plays for an opposition.
That's why I should have thought of that.
Okay, so that was Do You Know Who I Am? Now we're going to go to part 3 of our show, where we look at the Whitecaps side of things. So the first question, I guess, is, are we going to see a change of approach at all?
I think right now they're one of the best road teams in the Western Conference, so no.
Yeah, Gideon, what do you think?
No, I don't see a reason to change.
Let's phrase the question a little bit differently. Do you want to see changes?
A little bit of rotation would be nice.
Okay.
I think.
But style-wise, Nick, nothing?
Style-wise, nothing really. I mean, the Whitecaps have proved this is how you can win on the road in the MLS.
Mm-hmm. But are we going to get into the whole winning versus entertainment argument, or is it all about?
I thought when you phrased the question, it was tactically wise, and no, I won't say tactically wise, but yeah, I think we should change up a couple of players on the starting 11.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Caps have rotated pretty well so far, I think. It's only 5 games in, so there's no need for wholesale changes. But Chris Cargan has gotten in touch. He says, "How do you boys think this squad rotation thing is working out in a more general sense?" Gideon, what do you think?
I think it's actually worked out honestly quite well. You know, we haven't gone for the Canadian Championship a full 8-player switch, but the players we have rotated have come in. We've done 2 or 3 changes in the past couple of games, and it's worked really well. And I don't see, we haven't had bad results, except for the LA game, I guess, that we should have won. But I think it's gone pretty well considering what we have available for us right now.
Yeah, and I think that goes in with the whole what Robo is trying to say. He's always saying, I want people to fight for spots. I want people to challenge for spots. And you can only really get people challenging for spots if you give people opportunities to show what they can do. So I think we'll keep seeing more of this.
Someone who really took his opportunity last week, not that he needed to impress anyone, was Davies. Those 20 minutes that he came on and just won the game for the Caps. Mm-hmm. Do you think he's back in the starting lineup, Gideon, this week?
Yes, I definitely believe so.
On the left or on the right, as I masterfully predicted last week? On the left, okay.
He can go right at Beltran, who's getting a little bit slower.
Yeah,
so.
Maybe later in the game. Nick, you think he's back in?
I would think he should be back in for sure. Mm-hmm. It's another good game, and like was pointed out, he can go against someone who maybe has a little bit less of a pace, right?
Yeah. Moving to the extreme other end of the pitch, there was a chance last week for Marinovic to have a bad narrative. He kind of made a mistake for the goal against the Caps. But more generally speaking, how do you think he's settling in as the undisputed starter this year, Nick?
I don't think it's bad. I mean, he's made maybe some odd decisions every once in a while, especially in terms of like the reflex saves. I'm thinking of that header goal where he jumped up.
Yeah, and it went under him.
And it went under him,
Yeah.
right? Like, but I think in Houston he was great. I mean, in Atlanta that really wasn't his fault,
Yeah.
and he kept them in he helped keep them in for as long as they were, for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So I still think he's solid, and I mean, but every once in a while you're going to have errors, and we're lucky we kind of, got away with it in that game.
Gideon, your thoughts on Marinovic so far?
Yeah, coming from, what he's replacing in Osted is not easy, and, Osted was around for a long time. I wish he was around for even more, and I think Marinovic has come in from where he played in the fourth tier of Germany. He's done actually really well when he's proved himself, and, he's made a couple mistakes, but there's always plays where you make up for your mistakes, and he's done that for sure, and I don't see any reason for him to not be in, the starting lineup or the goalkeeper spot for the rest of the year.
Yeah, in my mind, like, the goalie's job is to stop goals from going in or stop, preventable shots from going in. And a bonus is if you can inspire calm in your defenders, right? And I think Marinovic does do that, like, quite well. They're a good unit, and there doesn't seem to be any, like, systematic errors back there, right? So yeah, I think he's doing okay, but hopefully we see less of that kind of error that he made, where he just knocked the ball right into the path of whoever scored the goal. But moving over to the more general game plan, who is the key player for the Whitecaps when they're away from home?
It's whoever is on the wings.
Okay.
I think.
So Breck-Shea.
So Breck-Shea, well, like, or Davies, right?
Yeah.
Any of your pacey wingers out wide that you have, I think is really part of the key things, because they're going to get few chances and they have to put those chances away.
Is it more on the attacking side or the defensive side that you say that?
I'm saying more on the attacking side. We know that they can defend as a unit. We know what they're going to do. So it's really key for those wingers or the striker, I think more the wingers, because that's mostly where our play funnels through, to be able to do the right thing in the limited opportunities that they're going to get on the counterattack.
Gideon, where do you see the key for the Caps' game plan away from home?
Yeah, I think Joe touched on it fantastically there, that away from home you're going to have a lot of space on the wings and you're going to have room to roam, and I think teams at home are really gung-ho with their outside backs, and that's where the Whitecaps are going to have to attack on the road and go after the RSL defense center backs, I should say, with their right backs and left backs pushed up the field.
I feel the midfield doesn't get enough credit for allowing the play to be on the wings, right? Like, if it wasn't for that solid core of what we have come to accept is three midfielders who basically sit, then the play would be going down the middle a lot more, like on the defending side of things, right? But we're able to push them out wide, right? Because of that really good dynamic that they have in there.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. I wouldn't argue that the midfielders aren't important. But
yeah. But the key, I guess, it's still, the onus is on the wings, especially when we're looking for goals. Before the season started, we thought that the Caps would be like really set piece orientated, right? And they're not bad at set pieces, but it hasn't been as fruitful as we hoped. Gideon, what do you think the reason for that is?
I remember in preseason, I think Tim Parker got 2 goals in a preseason game. I think it was Milwaukee or something like that. And I don't want to really, pinpoint him as saying maybe that's part of it. But honestly, nowadays, teams pick out Waston and put 2 guys on him in set pieces sometimes, and that leaves guys like Parker and other people to kind of attack the ball. And Parker was a little bit taller, so he was able to kind of sometimes jump up and get those balls. Not saying it's entirely, his fault for leaving, but I think it has to deal with it, is we don't really have a huge, set piece killer outside of Waston and Kamara on this team that'll really, get you done beside, I guess you could say too, but
yeah,
I think honestly it's just sometimes delivery. It just depends on who we're playing, and we don't really set up for set pieces that well a whole lot, so it's a number of different things for me.
For me, it's been the delivery, but Nick, what do you think?
Well, because I was looking at some, like, where are the Whitecaps getting fouled? And they're not getting fouled in areas where you're going to get good delivery.
Oh, I see.
So I think other teams are actually coming better prepared.
Okay. And we don't get a bunch of corners either.
And I mean, credit to Columbus as well. They're not a tall team, but you could see that they had really it looked like they had prepared to mark set pieces well.
Okay.
And they weren't losing their runners. So I think maybe teams have kind of figured out that, in addition to losing some like Parker, but maybe teams have figured out, we actually have to pay attention to this. Otherwise, we are going to get burned.
That's pretty interesting, actually, because like that's the only thing I could think of that would have changed, right? Like the places that we're getting fouls. But I've found even corners deliveries, they're not up to scratch. Maybe it's because we don't have Bolaños anymore. But like, I really feel that we're not hitting the danger zones, like the red zone, as they would say, like in the set piece department. But hopefully,
but you never know. Maybe they need to do more practice.
Yeah, maybe. Like, it would be nice if that was our only problem, but it's not. So moving to the back line, Aha has looked pretty good. Let's have another evaluation of our center back pecking order, shall we? I think a few weeks ago we said it was Mond and then maybe Henry and then maybe Aha. For me now it's Waston, Aha, Mond, and when Henry comes back he can fight for a place. Nick, what do you think is the...
I would agree with you, but I don't think that the gap between Mond and Aha is as big as people might think.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Gideon, what do you think?
Yeah, I think for sure, as contradictory to what I said, I think last week or the week before, that Aha is second to Mond. I think Aha has played his way into being the new guy beside Waston. I think he could be there for a year or two to come as well. He's played really well, and there's no reason really for me to take him out at this point.
And he's playing with confidence too. I think there was an article on about that he's a bit more of a confident player now. Rob was actually giving him a chance.
And I think he's a better passer than Mond for sure, and he seems more confident on the ball. So I wouldn't, it goes back to that whole home and away thing. Maybe he should play more games at home.
Then we can spread the ball around a little bit more.
Spread the ball a little bit better.
Yeah. Juarez didn't start last week, even though I made a prediction on his passing accuracy. Does he come back in for this RSL game?
Would not be surprised.
Yeah. Okay. We're all in agreement, I think. He's a good player. That goes without saying. But what's his biggest attribute or his biggest advantage?
I think leadership and smart tackling.
Tactical fouling, yeah. Okay, Gideon. Nick.
I think, in addition to leadership, I think he's also quite a good passer, and he's quite smart and intelligent with picking his passes and what to do. Like, he's not as lateral or backward, say, as Russell.
Yeah.
He can pick a pass forward, and I think we've seen that in a couple of goals where he's made the smart decision to, I'm going to hit, I think it was Teixeira in stride.
Yeah. To me, he's one of the best firefighters we've had. I'm sorry, Barry Robson, but you were not, fighting fires. You were fighting fire with fire rather than putting out the fires. But yeah, I really think he's doing a really great job. Just like that all-round player that we need, up and down, seems to have the legs, and he got a rest last week, which is definitely very good. Is it time we see Anthony Blondell start a game? Because he's come in for what we believe is a hefty transfer fee. Would this be a good game for him to get his first full start? Or his second full start, I mean. He started Atlanta, I think, or something.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe he can get the start. I mean, Kamara is playing really well right now.
Oh, yeah.
So, do you want to mess with that, I guess, is the question. But then Kamara is, I will have to apologize to him at the candlelit romantic dinner. But maybe he's getting, he is getting old, right?
Yeah, that's true. But from a squad happiness point of view, Gideon, shouldn't he get some minutes? I'm sure he was promised some starts when he came in at the start of the season, right?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this last week that, Blondell is a matchup player with defenders of the opposite team. And, Kamara had that groin injury. I remember he missed the game in Atlanta completely, and he started in LA. And I think Blondell, especially with Kamara and those groin issues and stuff, it doesn't go away, quickly. You'll need to rest it up. And I think Blondell deserves to start this game. He matches up quite well with the center backs of RSL. He's fast. He's a little bit bigger, taller, I should say. And I think he'll get the start. And I think Kamara will come on a little bit later, maybe as a 4-4-2 as well. It depends on how the game is going.
Yeah, I would really like to see him start this game. Not because Kamara's done anything wrong, or not even that Kamara wouldn't be the best player that we could have as far as a matchup goes. But I just think we need
rotation.
Yeah, and we need to see more of him. And Like, he needs to be able to prove himself. Like, how many players have stagnated on the bench, right?
Not Shea.
Not Shea, definitely. But he's like a fine wine, you know. You can't really. He's timeless. Yeah. One last thing we can talk, and we'll talk about this when we go over our lineups later on. And we discussed it a little bit at the start. Gideon, you mentioned that Beltran will probably play on left back for right back. Okay, so then I think Davies should play on the left. Because Lennon is their left back, and he's
young,
like 22,
and
right? So I think from minute one.
Winger as well.
Sorry, Gideon?
And Lennon's normally a right winger. Well, he's played left back this year, but he's predominantly a right winger. So
okay,
we'll see.
Nick, where do you think Davies? Like, what have you seen from his game? Like, if you were his coach, what do more, Alfonso? What would you say?
I would say he should definitely cut inside more. I'd like to see him cut inside.
On
either from the right or from the left wing. You know, I think getting him into the box, because he's so dangerous, it pulls other defenders towards him and will make space for other people as well, right? Because they have to respect his speed and his craftiness, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty much our discussion for the Whitecaps side of things. All the main points. But before we go on to the last part of the show, let's just go through the lineup and see if we can come to a consensus. We've generally been pretty good about this stuff, but I have a feeling this will be a rotation game that we're going to be some selections coming out of left field. In goal, Marinovic. I got ahead of myself with the rotation thing there. Left back, De Jong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyone know how Levis is doing?
I think he's healthier, but I don't know if he's going to be really thrown in there quite yet.
Tweet in with your Levis updates, please.
Yes.
Okay, centre back. I went for Mond just to give him a game, and Waston.
I think Aha will play.
If we were playing our best team, I would say Aha, but I think this will be that'll be one of the spots we see rotated. Gideon?
Yeah, I think Aha's going to go in there just because Mon had his chance earlier this year, and Aha's not playing bad. So
Waston hasn't really had a break though. He's been on international.
He had that red card and that international.
He did sit out 75 minutes of the of that game, I guess.
Yeah.
Right back, Nerwinski.
Yeah.
Yes.
Franklin update. We need to find out how healthy people are.
Yeah.
Sean, get in touch with us, and we'll make sure everyone knows if you're fit. Okay. Actually, yeah, formation I went for 4-2-3-1, so I have two holding midfielders. Anyone have anything different?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Some stats website listed as a 4-3-3, but
yeah.
that's kind of not... It's fluid when you're defending, right? Everyone's packed in, so it's harder to tell. I went for Tybert and Juarez.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Okay. Possibly, if Ghazal was fit, I could... Like, if he's back from his long-term injury, he could probably come back in there. Who else am I missing? Mosquito. No?
Mosquito can play anyway.
I'm going to bang the mosquito drum until the cows come home. Left wing, I have Breck Shea.
I would actually... So here's one thing where I know we've been banging on like home and away players, but I think Chichera might actually be a good fit in this game because RSL has had problems with those through balls and a lot of crafty passes.
Yeah.
So I think it actually might be a good game for him to come in.
Okay. Gideon, left wing, who you got?
Left wing, I have... There's two parts. Okay. I have Davies for right now, but I think I'm going to say Shea on the left and Davies on the right.
Okay. I have Davies on the right. Nick, where do you have Davies?
Davies
okay. It's almost like we foretold. Center attacking mid, I put Reina in.
I wouldn't mind seeing Felipe.
Okay. I think Felipe needs a kind of a break. He hasn't had a minute's rest since he came in, right?
Yeah.
Gideon?
Felipe.
Okay. Up front, I went Blondell. I just want to see more of him. He looked promising, and this could be a good game for him, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if Blondell got the start, but I think Kamara he's hot. Play the hot hand.
I'm not going to be sad if Kamara starts, but Gideon, who do you have up there?
Yeah, Blondell, too. I think he deserves a shot.
Okay. Well, that concludes our Whitecaps preview. I'm sure the RSL scouts are listening in to get all the ins and outs that we can provide. And we're going to go to the last part of our show. It's the prediction game. Last week was the red wedding of prediction games. So Nick made 3 predictions for the Caps game against Columbus. Said that Higuain would have 2 shots on target. That was not the case. Mond would have 5 aerial wins. Mond didn't even play. The Caps would have 22 tackles. I think they had like 16 or something like that. I said that De Jong would get a yellow card. That's our only prediction that came home. Juarez would have 85% passing accuracy. He didn't even play. Felipe would... Okay, this one annoyed me a lot. I said Felipe would have more than 1 key pass. Felipe had 1 key pass.
You got greedy. You got greedy.
Yeah. Gideon said that Mond would have a yellow. Mond didn't start. Kamara had 2 shots, not 4. And De Jong had no crosses and not 3 crosses. So let's hope to do a little bit better. I think the standings are now, 5 to me and 3 to you guys, or 6 to me. I'll have to double check that. But let's get your predictions in for next week.
I thought you were supposed to be a stats guy.
I hope TSS are not listening in on this. Yeah. Nick, your predictions for this week.
Okay, I think Whitecaps are going to have 15 interceptions. The team will have 15.
They're just harder and harder stats for me to look up. Okay.
I think here's an easy one for you to look up. I think Davies will get an assist.
Okay. All right. Is it a if a VAR goal happens, does it still count? If it's disallowed as a goal?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. I really don't care.
No, you could say there is a pulled. You could say there's a disallowed goal.
Okay, I think 0.5 of a goal. All right, what's your third prediction?
Okay, and Raimondo will make 4 saves.
Raimondo 4 saves. Okay, Gideon.
Davies will have 3 shots.
Davies 3 shots. Okay.
Jose Aja will have 4-headed clearances.
4-headed clearances. Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
And Waston will get a yellow card.
Oh, it's usually a safe one. All right,
I'm on the board, like I said. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Davies goal.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm gonna get an RSL stat too. I think Justin Glad will get a yellow card. And let's go with Raimondo likes chatting at the ref, right? Maybe like a yellow for Raimondo for dissent or something. No, let's go with the Whitecaps one. Let's go with Breck Shea will have 55% pass accuracy. 55 is a low number, but he's going to be playing it long. He's probably not even going to start. Is he?
Because of this.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Breck. All right, well, let's let everyone know where you can be found on Twitter. Gideon.
At Gideon Hill 18.
And Nick?
Space Age Robot 56.
And you can find me at Joe DC Van. Actually, there was one question we didn't get to. What if it snows? What are we going to do?
What if it snows?
Gideon, you said throw snowballs like an elf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say build like a snow fort.
Yeah, I was going to say a trench. Just build a trench.
Yeah, just pack all the snow.
Nowhere in the laws of the game does it say thou shall not build a trench. We also had a really weird question from Michael McCall at AFTN Canada, but we'll get to that during our bi-week podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe to AFTN if you haven't already, and enjoy the game.
When you're listening on some far-flung corner of the globe to the World Service of a Saturday afternoon, crackly reception, interference, cosy, marvellous. Somehow comforting, isn't it? You know, legendary names, fathers and sons on the terraces, cheesy peas at half-time, pint for dad, mum's at home making the tea. Everything's all right with the world, isn't it? Saturday afternoon is football.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but